All right. Hello, traders. Mark P. Markets here. My name is Mark Principato. I'm a chartered market technician. Thank you for joining me for another technical analysis session here on TradingView and on my other stream here. So I am simulcasting. This is for educational purposes only. So for investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. Now, today, we're going to be getting into Bitcoin. All right, we're going to be talking about that here. Let me get the chart up because we have a few things to go over. Just give me a second here. Okay, so there's the Bitcoin chart, and we're going to cover Bitcoin. We're going to cover a couple of the altcoins like Link, like Uniswap, and DOT. Also, I want to talk about the stock market real quick because of what's going on there. I also want to touch on the US dollar. Okay, so those are the main markets I'm going to go over. I want to try to contain that and keep that within 10 minutes. And then I want to spend the rest of the time answering your questions. Okay, so if you're new to my stream, what you do is you share your symbol or your market or your stock or whatever it is in the chat now. So once I get to the chat portion, I can get to the market you want to see. If it's an altcoin, please put USD or USDT after the symbol so I don't spend 3 hours on the wrong symbol. All right. So I went over the disclaimer. Let's get into this. And here, so just to make it a little more personable, I'm going to pop into the picture here. All right, here we go. So there I am. Wait, no, I'm not. Hold on a second. Man, the software is just not being nice to me today. All right, here we go. All right, hey everyone. So first thing we have to do, it's Monday, we have to take a look at the economic calendar. I'm not actually going to show it. I'm just going to read it. You can get this information from any economic calendar. TradingView has one obviously, but I like the one that I use because it's very to the point. Okay, so I'm only going over the most important events for this week. It's important to know this stuff because if there's an economic event that's about to come out, it can affect a lot of things, whether you're in stocks, whether you're in Forex, even possibly Bitcoin if the dollar is involved. Okay, so on the 22nd, what we had Fed Chairman, this came out, this was earlier today. Okay, Powell had a speech at 8 a.m. For the GBP, that was all earlier today, right? Well, 2 a.m., this is Eastern Daylight Time, unemployment rate. These aren't big numbers. Okay, now, 3:23, that's tomorrow at 11 a.m. EDT. Fed Chair Powell testifies. Now, this is important. This is important for the stocks. This is important for Forex, because if there's any surprises in what he says that can hint toward what the Fed's position on is on interest rates or something that maybe was not unexpected, it can move markets in a dramatic way. Now, we haven't seen any major market moves in a while on stuff that he comes out and says, okay? A lot of times you get some kind of knee-jerk reaction and then the broader move will unfold over the next few days. So just something to keep an eye on. All right, now anything else? I'm just scanning through the calendar here. German market manufacturing PMI. These aren't big market movers. That's on the 24th. Okay, then we have for the British pound, Great Britain, market services PMI. Again, these are not big deals. Okay, also on the 24th, we have non-defense capital goods orders, excluding aircraft. That's again, that's at 7:30 a.m. on the 24th, Eastern Daylight Time. Durable goods orders also comes out at the same time. Not a big deal. Now, again, on the 24th, 9 a.m. EDT, Fed Chair Powell testifies again. This guy just can't keep his mouth shut. So again, now, usually when this type of testimony is going on, the market could be very sluggish going into the testimony. And then once he starts saying things, you can see dramatic moves. I mean, we're going to take a look at today's price action in a moment because obviously he had, he possibly set a tone for today's market move. Okay, so just keep in mind, next couple of days, this guy is speaking. On the 25th, we have the Swiss National Bank interest rate decision, only important if you're in the dollar-franc pair. And then we have Governor Bailey's speech on the 25th. Again, this is occurring at 3:30 a.m. and at 4:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So those aren't really big market movers. So the real economic highlights for this week are Chairman Powell's speeches over the next 3 days. Make sure you're aware of that. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to get to the chat. So guys, don't worry. good time to ask questions. All right, so let me just say hello to Shashank. Good to see you. Paul, hey, thanks for joining me. Robert, and a Poor Traders, Stephen, Nicholas, hey, nice to see everyone. Arno, okay, cool. So let's get into Bitcoin. All right, first thing, let's take a look here. And here, let me just make the chart a little more, since I have a face for radio, let's just look at the chart here for a moment. So here's the thing, Bitcoin price action. It's been hesitant, right? Now, for those of you, by the way, on TradingView, if you read my analysis yesterday, this would be a good opportunity to ask questions about my analysis, because sometimes I just don't, it's hard for me to answer the comment section and stuff like that. So if you have a question about it, check it out and let me know what you think, or, you know, good time to ask a question. Anyway, I wrote about Bitcoin yesterday and I put it out on TradingView, and I talked about this price action in here because we were in a consolidation, right? And I explained in these situations, you have to let the market provide the clues. You have to let the market provide the answers, okay? So here's what Bitcoin is saying now, because you have to be patient in these situations, all right? Hold on a second. It's hard to produce a show and be in it at the same time and all that other stuff. So what my point is this. We were in this resistance zone, okay? Anywhere in that 58, 59, 60K area, this blue box that you see on my chart, that's a reversal zone. Now, we touched up there a few times. There was even this potential buy signal right here, but we didn't send anything out on that because the probability is low, all right? Now, these are anecdotal probabilities because they're loose probabilities. I can't sit there and show you a distribution curve and say, oh, here's the exact number of the probability. I can't do that with these, but we just know the general area, it's a resistance. So buying into that, you're asking for trouble. Now, a lot of people on smaller time frames are going to buy into that, and they're going to get caught in this, right? Now, look what it's doing. So yesterday, we had this bullish pin bar develop off the range low. Again, too early to judge. I was not about to send out any signals on something like this, because again, if we got the break of the high of this pin bar, you're going right back into the resistance zone. So yes, it's a pin bar, but the location is not favorable. That is the problem with this area. So now we're testing this trend line. Okay, again, you can see prices in it right now. So Bitcoin is still not really doing anything. It needs to clear 56,000 around there. What are we at right now? 56 even. It needs to clear it decisively. What that means is you need to see 55,000, 54.5, and it needs to close there. Okay, a tail and then reversing off of there doesn't count because it's not decisive, right? As you could see, it's tested those areas before and it's reversed. So it's hard to make decisions here. A lot of times you just have to let the market do its thing. Now, again, we still have 1/3 of our original swing trade from 48.5. Well, I'm not going to do anything with that here, okay? People tend to overreact. There's just no reason. We're still inside the consolidation, even though this is an ugly candle. We've seen plenty of ugly candles, but no supports are breaking. So when a support breaks, that's a different story. If you're in such a trade, this would be a good area. You know, if you don't like the idea of going to 50K, then you should reduce risk. Okay, whether it's an investment, whether it's a swing trade, it's, you know, you take out this is an inside bar. You take out the low of this inside bar tonight after the close, that would be a new sell signal. So it really, a lot of it's going to depend on where you're in from. Since we're in from 48.5, we're a strong hand. So it can go all the way back to 48.5, and that's 1/3. We've locked in 2/3 for profit. So it's, you know, we can afford to let the market gyrate and fool around and figure itself out because the broader trend is still bullish. It hasn't changed, okay? I mean, there's still a series of higher lows intact, and we haven't pushed any supports yet. So that's Bitcoin. I mean, if it breaks higher, we're looking at the mid-60s. So at this point, you know, people that are predicting it, it's too early. You can't predict these things, all right? All we know is right now, it's holding this resistance area, but it hasn't taken out any supports. When the supports get broken, that's when there should be more cause for concern. But if we go to 50K and we reverse, I would be interested in a swing trade there, okay? Because that would be a broader higher low, and I'd be looking for at least test of high or at least halfway up, okay? For a swing trade, that's all I'm looking for. So again, key lessons to take away from this is there's no reason to react to market information just because the market's doing something, right? A lot of times you're better off waiting for a particular level to be reached and then letting the market provide some type of confirmation right? We don't have none of that here. So there's nothing to do. All right, so that's Bitcoin. Just wanted to point that out. If you have any questions about it, please let me know, and I will get to the questions. So thank you, and thank you for asking them. Now, let's take a quick look here at Uniswap. I'm just going over these because these are trades that we sent out recently. Okay, UniUSD. This thing, it's still holding. Okay, we have a higher low that was established on that 27 level. You see the pin bar right there. That's nice. But hasn't been very eventful since. Now, our first target was $30, right? So we reached target 1. Target 2 is 35, and this thing keeps flirting with it. I mean, what's today's high? Oh, I'm sorry, no, 35 was taken out. I was looking at a different number. So we reached target 2, nice. So target 3 is 43, right? So at this point, this is an attempt at a breakout. Since we've locked in 2/3 of profit, again, what do we do here? Nothing. We let the thing ride, okay? Nice trend, nice structure, higher low, should lead to a higher high. Will it go right to 43? I don't know. That's up to the market, okay? A lot of times it's best to remove yourself from the situation as much as possible because that's how you minimize second guessing. All right, it's very easy to second guess, especially some bearish candles show up. I mean, how many people got worried about that bearish pin bar right there, and it turns out to be nothing, all right? It got negated. Look at this. So, nice. Being a strong hand is nice. You just sit back and let it ride. So there's nothing to do there. Now, those that try to break it, that buy this now on the breakout, they're the ones that are taking the most risk, okay? We got in again at 25.5. So this is all profit for us. It doesn't matter. But buying this thing now at 34.89, you're nuts, all right? We're selling this to you because here's the thing. If it fails here, you know, you're pulling back to like 30 or 25 again or whatever if it fails, and you're buying into that potential failed breakout area. So that's the difference between, you know, being a strong hand and then buying it now and assuming all that risk. I wouldn't buy it here. No way. So you just have to let this thing do its job. I wouldn't buy it here. It's too much risk. Now, let's talk about Link because that's another one real quick. And again, I'm going to get to your questions. I see people typing questions, so I appreciate that. Here's Link against the dollar. Now look at this one, right? This one's not doing so great. It looks kind of like Bitcoin. So it reached our first target. It went into that target zone. This blue box, by the way, is the target zone. It went in there 2 times, but it only reached target 1. So we're only out 1/3, right? We still have 2/3. But again, even though there's a bearish pin bar here, I'm not going to react. I'm not going to overreact. I'm not going to react. Why? We're in a consolidation. Bitcoin hasn't taken out any supports. So why should this thing, right? It may touch supports. As long as we're still inside this triangle, I'm going to let the market do its job. I'm not going to interfere. Now, if it goes to the stop at 25.50, that's the risk that I assumed at the time that I put on the trade. If I can't take that risk, I should not be in this trade. Okay, so that's the whole thing here. There's nothing to do. I'm just going to let this thing do its job, and either it goes to its targets or it knocks us out. Okay, and at least we locked in 1/3, so it will be a smaller loss. That's the way I like to do it. Okay, now usually if I see a clear sell signal like this pin bar, I mean, I'll mention it to people. Hey, you know, if you don't like the idea of going back to 25 and you have some profit in this thing as a swing trade, it doesn't hurt to take some more off the table, perhaps reduce risk, you know, put on a, you know, whatever, reduce, make it. What I'm trying to say is make your position smaller, right? You just unload a little bit, maybe a little bit more than you normally would, right? We took out 1/3, we got out of 1/3. So with 2/3 left, maybe you get out of a portion of that, right? But that's up to you. I don't send out any updates on that, or I don't send out any adjustments because I'm not doing anything with it. Okay. So anyway, so that's that. That's Link, right? So that was Uni, Link. Now the other one, Dot. Let me go over Dot real quick, and then I'm going to get to your questions. Okay. So on Dot. Now Dot, Polkadot. This was a trade of the week. Okay, that we sent out. We sent out to everyone. And here's the thing, again, not doing anything, right? Triangle, that's a triangle. It's a consolidation. Just let the thing do its job. Either it takes out these supports and breaks, right? Which I would expect that to do if Bitcoin breaks. But if Bitcoin doesn't break, or even if Bitcoin tries to test 60K, tries to break out and fails, maybe this thing will get like that little spark going and, you know, start going to its other targets. But that's, you know, nothing to do here. All right, when you see these consolidations, you just have to let the market do its job. So those are the main points I wanted to make about those. Now, let me touch on the stock market real quick. All right, again, I'm going to get to your questions. Now, the stock market is tricky. So we have this SQQQ trade that I sent out a little while back, and that is to capitalize on a bearish Nasdaq. Now, the Nasdaq wasn't bearish today, right? This thing's up 280 points. But here's the thing. This is why I don't react. Oh, hey, Entrepreneric sent me 200 coins. Thank you, Entrepreneric. It's very nice of you. Very appreciate that. Okay, so here's the thing with the Nasdaq. Is this thing bullish or bearish? That's the question you should be asking, and it can be confusing here because we're not taking out any specific levels. Now, we have this resistance up in here around 13.2, 13.3. This is the CFD, by the way. I like to use this instead of like the Qs. It's even though the numbers aren't exactly the same. Same with the futures. It's a reflection of the futures, but the numbers are a little off because the futures have a cost to carry and all that stuff. So, but it doesn't matter. The charts are the same, right? So here's the thing. We have this buy signal that occurred earlier today when it took out Friday's high, and now we have this solid bullish candle, right? A lot of stocks look this way. I mean, if you look around today, right? I mean, what was leading this? You look at Facebook. I mean, look at Facebook, right? You look at Microsoft had a pretty big day, right? Look at that. Amazon, okay? Look at Amazon. Nvidia, right? The semiconductors, high or low. So there's a lot of appears to be strength in some of the market leaders. But again, they haven't taken out any resistances. So yes, we have a higher low, but we have yet to make that higher high. For that reason, I will not take longs. Now, the market may break out further and push higher, and it's going to be very hard to sit through that for some people because you're going to feel like you're missing out. Like, oh, the bottom is in. Why aren't these guys buying? But the thing is, with the Nasdaq and S&P as strong as they are, especially the S&P, these leaders should be up here, right? And they're not. So that's a red flag. Now let's take a look at the S&P real quick, right? Now look, the S&P's got that higher low in it. Okay, that's cool. That's fine. Higher low. But I will not be convinced until we clear the higher high. We may touch that high again on the S&P and fail again. It's possible. It's a vulnerable area. And that's what I have to look at. The probability of the location first. There are some stocks like Blink, right? I mean, nice buy signal today on Blink, but many people are going to jump into these things. And what if they only go a couple of points, right? What if something like Blink, I mean, Blink was up 2 points today. Let's say you bought it and you're up like $1 and the Nasdaq and S&P rally just a little bit more. Okay, and Blink maybe goes up another couple of dollars, right? You don't get out, of course, because you think you got the bottom of the market. And then the market sells off, right? And you get that broad sell-off that we're still anticipating. And then these things get hammered. Then you get stuck in them. So that's why I'm not very optimistic about these prices just yet. If we see some continuation patterns, right, because I'm watching the S&P, we see this thing break higher and there's no failure, whatever, then we'll be able to find some stocks to participate in for swing trades. This environment is great for day trades because day trades don't expose you to the broader magnitude risk. What is the broader magnitude risk? If this thing fails, all right, remember, we have Powell speaking tomorrow, which is Tuesday, and Wednesday. I think it was on Wednesday, and I think Thursday again. I forgot the calendar. Here, I got the calendar over here. Let me just take a look again. Powell is speaking on the, where is he here? The 24th, right? The 23rd. Hold on. Let me find Powell. Yeah, he's on the 23rd, which is tomorrow. Okay, and then he speaks. This guy speaks again on the 24th. Okay, so this guy is speaking in 2 days. He spoke today, and he speaks 2 more times. So this is important because again, if this guy says something that the market doesn't like, you're going to see a bearish pin bar or something. All right, so those are the things I wanted to point out. One more thing real quick before I get to your questions. I know I'm talking too long, but I tend to talk a lot. And as Michael said, I can talk about the hour. I can talk about the weather for an hour. All right, but I'm going to get to your questions. Man, it's 20 minutes. Too long. too long on my stuff. All right, this is the bond market, okay, US 10. Now, this candle today, you see this candle? This implies, obviously, interest rates potentially going lower. But this trend is not bullish, not yet. We haven't taken out any resistances yet. So this is why I'm not impressed with the stock market. We take out these candle lows over the rest of the week, and this market continues in its trend, which at this point, there's nothing that says it's reversing just yet. That means interest rates, there's pressure, bullish pressure on interest rates. The market's not going to go very far in that scenario. That is what you have to keep an eye on. Okay, so that's my analysis. I want to get to your questions now. So let me start going through the chat. Again, I'm sorry it took so long. Okay, so Shay Shank asks about XRP. By the way, if I miss your question, I apologize. I have a lot to go through, and just ask it again or catch me on my next stream, okay? So XRP, USD. So Shay Shank says, good for a fake out from 43 cents. Well, look, so this is one of these, XRP has been a pain, right? It's trying to get its act together. You do have a higher low in place right here. That's okay. But here's the thing, overall, right, if you just kind of look at the bigger picture since October, you have a range, right? This is not a trending coin. You have a range high in this area right here, and you have a range low in this area right here, okay, where I drew those giant rectangles. That's a range. That's not a trend. So in this case, you're near that range high. I don't like buying into range highs, especially one of these type of coins. So if you're going to do anything with it, like if you're in it, great. You should be reducing risk. In my opinion, it's not a bad idea to take something off the table while you're near the range high. If you're not in it, this is not a good place to chase. You're chasing right into that range high. Can it break out and go higher? Yes, it's possible, but it's about the risk. Because if you're wrong and you get caught in this thing, you're looking at going back into the middle of the range at minimum, right? Which is what, 39 cents? So I wouldn't do anything with this here. Okay, if you're in the gambling mood and you want to throw a little money at it and hope for the best, I mean, that's all you can do. Charts on these, a lot of these altcoins, charts are not very reliable. Okay, for one, they're too noisy. These coins are too cheap. They're not making any meaningful moves. Okay, and they're still following a leader like Ethereum or Bitcoin. So that's why I won't put as much weight on the chart patterns or signals that I see on some of these like XRP. All right, not all of them are like this, but XRP is one of them. Okay, Paul, and I'm TradingView. I'm going to get to you in a moment. So thank you for your questions. I appreciate your questions. Paul, XSN USD and Nasdaq S&P 500 relative performance. Okay, so I think I answered that Nasdaq question. I mean, here. So let me one thing at a time. Hold on. Let me get the XSN USD. Let's take a look. All right, so similar to XRP, this is stake net against the dollar, right? I don't see a trend here. This is not a trend yet. Why? Because you have a range high in that area, right? These candle tails give you a sense of that. And then you have this range low area right here. Now, you do have the break of this previous resistance, which is a potential higher high. So it could be starting a trend. But the thing is, the question you have to ask, and how much is this thing? It's like 48 cents. Okay. How much risk do you take if you buy it here at 48 cents? Well, the support right now, the next support is right in this area right here, where all that noise is. So you're looking at around 42 cents. So it's about 5 cents of risk. I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but if you have a large position on, 5,000 coins or something ridiculous like that, it can be expensive. So if anything, if you want to work with a level that has probability more in your favor, that would be the area if it can test that area, okay? But there's no trend here per se. I don't see clear, distinct higher lows, higher highs. I don't see a series of them. I only see one. So I would wait for the pullback. I mean, I tend to be more conservative. You can argue that there is a little consolidation in here, and you could try to play that breakout, but I just don't like those situations. I prefer to see a high probability support. So you're looking at around that 40 cent, 42 cent area, or if it really wants to get ridiculous, you can get back into the 32 cent area. It's possible. All right, so just wanted to mention that. Thanks for asking. Now, he had another part of the question here. It was Nasdaq against S&P 500. So, I mean, look, let's go back to that Nasdaq real quick. So I told you about this area. It's really about the levels, right? So we can compare them to each other, but it's about the levels because they follow each other, right? Nasdaq is going back into this resistance. Can it clear it? We do have an inverted head and shoulders pattern here, which you can argue is a bullish pattern, possible. But like I said, with that bond market in the situation that it's in, if that bond market trend continues, I don't know where this thing thinks it's going. Now, I am applying some logic there, so we have to see if the market confirms that or not. I don't trade on logic, but that when I see something like that, I want to see the market either prove what I'm thinking or not, right, for my bigger picture expectations. So that's the Nasdaq. Now, we look at that S&P again real quick. I mean, the S&P is nearer its all-time highs. Can we argue that the S&P is relatively stronger? Yes. But if one of them fail miserably, like if the Nasdaq fails miserably because of rising interest rates, I don't know where the S&P thinks it's going, right? Or the Dow, because they typically will follow each other. A couple of stocks can't lead the whole way. I mean, if you look at the leaders today, they're all like the big names that we know and all that kind of stuff. A couple of stocks can't lead the whole market, right? Not for long anyway. So that's what I have to say about that. The Nasdaq is still relatively weak and has yet to take out important resistance levels. We will see if it can do it as the week unfolds. Okay, so let me jump over to TradingView here real quick. And again, thank you everyone for these great questions. Okay, so all right, well said. There's also an inverse head and shoulders on the hourly and daily. So I don't look at the hourly chart, just so you know. For these type of trades, I only look at daily charts because they're going to be the most reliable for swing trades, okay, for the system that we use. WJ, on the topic of correlation of BTC price strength, for example, info on shorts in this space, which you guys have used before, okay, is this still valid? What other information more recently have you found carries weight that you include as part of your analysis of BTC? Okay, good question, WJ. Sometimes, you know, Andrew will talk a lot about the short interest. You know, you can look at like the long, short, whatever, and he'll show you a chart. But it's really what brings that into context. And here, let me pull BTC back up. What brings that into context is you also have to consider the levels, right? So when I see, and it's usually best when the market is at an extreme area. We're not extreme right now. So the long, short charts, like again, there'll be times when they're more relevant than other times. It's tricky. There's no particular rules that say, okay, we have to look at all these particular things to come up with a judgment. We have to, as a short-term market timer, we have no choice but to act like poker players, where we have to make decisions on incomplete information. So more is not better in this game, okay? Less is more. So if I don't have to look at that long, short stuff, I won't. If I don't have to look at Elliott Wave, I won't, right? If I can get my information from, I want to get my information from the least amount of chart variables or variables as possible. So to answer your question, right now in this situation, I'm only focused on the level right now, the level and the price action, because this resistance zone up in here is really the thing. If Bitcoin can't clear it, right, and then we have this little lower high in place and it starts taking out supports, that's all that matters to me, right now. The long short situation can help, you know, if you're looking at that chart, but it can also get confusing. I would expect that if this thing starts to push into a support, I would expect the short interest to get higher, right? Because usually they think it's breaking and everyone piles in on the short side. But it's not that chart's not going to help you. What's going to help you is you see the reversal pattern on the Bitcoin chart, right? You see a bullish pin bar. While that short interest is very high, that's a great sign for longs, because you shouldn't see a bullish pin bar with high short interest, right? It means they're going to get squeezed. So I hope that answers your question. Great question. Again, that's one that I can answer that question for about 3 hours, and you know we don't have that time today. So thank you again for asking. All right, just bought your ebook. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. How about ETH BTC? All right, so here's the thing with those cross pairs. I don't like cross pairs. They're confusing. ETH BTC. It means it's kind of like the euro against the dollar, you know. But the thing is, the dollar is stable. Bitcoin is not stable. So you're going to get these wild moves on these things because one is moving faster and more dramatic than the other, right? So ETH BTC. Now you asked for the weekly chart. So here, let me pull the weekly chart up. I mean, look at this thing. So on the weekly, obviously, oh no, hold on. That's not it. Hold on. ETC BTC. Hold on. Right? Okay. Ethereum against Bitcoin, and you want the weekly. Here we go. So here's the thing with this, right? And again, these cross pair charts, they're not going to be as reliable when you have two unstable pairs. This is like something like when people say, oh, put on the, the euro against the pound. They're kind of almost like the same, right? Except when one is moving faster than the other. So in this case, because Bitcoin is wild and Ethereum can get wild, you're going to have wild charts. You can't, these levels aren't going to be as meaningful compared to when you're trading something like against the dollar, which is a stable currency, right? So in this situation, if you want to look at the chart, I mean, you're getting into a support area here, which implies that Ethereum is going lower faster than Bitcoin, right? At least it's been. That's what it implies. And it's trying to find some support here, right? Which means they're both trying to find some support. We've been looking at the dollar, Bitcoin against the dollar chart, and we saw that it's trying to pull back a bit, but it's not dramatically pulling back. I mean, Bitcoin isn't minus 5,000 points today, right? So you may find some support in here, okay, in this lower region. But like I said, I don't like these. And on the weekly, you can argue that you have this little support area, okay, off of this, 0306 area here. But that support gets taken out, and you got problems, okay? That probably means Ethereum is breaking faster than Bitcoin. Again, I don't put a lot of weight on these charts, right? So I hope that answers your question. I'd rather use the dollar or USDT, something that's stable. Okay, so great question. And thank you for the support again. All right, and one more question here before I get to the other chat. Hello, is PHLY, Philly Shipyard, good for a long-time investment? What's your opinion? Okay, PHLY. So first, let me go back to the daily chart. PHLY, Philly Shipyard, for a long-term investment. Now, for one thing, when it comes to long-term, I mean, it does help to at least have an idea of fundamentals, because that's what you're basically betting on, the long-term appreciation or value of the stock. What is the value proposition? I don't know if they pay any dividends. I don't know, what the incentive is to hold this thing. But as far as trend and momentum go, I mean, looking back here, I don't see anything very compelling. Okay, again, I don't know what they do. I don't know what their potential is. For long term, you really want something that offers either it's got to be like high growth, meaning it's something like an electric vehicle stock or something that has a lot of potential in the future, or something that pays a nice dividend that gives you an incentive to hold it for the long term. So this, I see a large range, and I see you're in the middle of the range. So I don't see any technical reason for getting involved in this thing. As far as investment goes, I would at least wait for better levels, okay? Better levels would be the lower part of the range, would be here. Now, will it test those levels? I don't know. But you're in the middle. In the middle is very random. It might go higher, it might go lower. So again, if you believe in the fundamentals, one thing you can consider in these situations is you buy a few shares, right? You buy something small that won't really hurt you if it goes the wrong way. Once it starts testing better levels, that gives you the opportunity to increase your inventory at better prices. Okay, again, you have to really be in tune with these fundamentals. I wouldn't do that on some garbage altcoin, okay? But if it's a stock like Apple, for example, which we all know is a high quality stock, and Apple for some irrational reason goes to $100, hey, that would be a great place to start accumulating some shares, right? Because I don't think Apple's going out of business, as we all know. Or something like Walmart, a solid company like Microsoft. But this company, I don't know, right? Because I'm not familiar with them. Anyway, but that's the point, right? This would be the area for accumulation, somewhere near that range low. And if you want to start your accumulation in the middle, just keep in mind that it's 50-50 here. Okay, that's my shorter term view on a potential longer term position. All right, so thank you for asking. All right, let's move on to the next one. Back to my other chat here. I have lots of questions, and again, I appreciate them all. Okay, so let me catch up. All right, so Paul. I like what you're doing, but hate to see you barely getting noticed. Thought about spicing up those titles. You should... Paul, I'm not a marketer, for one, so I appreciate that feedback. Spicing up the titles, maybe that would help. I spend my time, like, instead of writing articles all day like some of these gurus, I'm actually trading and looking for trade ideas and actually doing what a trader does, right? Not a marketer. So I appreciate that, and I do need to work on my marketing skills because they aren't that good. I have to agree. Robert, okay, cool. Hey, thanks for coming, Robert. All right, let's go. All right, cool. Steven, all right, so I'm going back. Nicholas, Arno, can you take a look at Beyond Meat? BYND. All right, and TradingView people, don't worry, I'll get right back to you. Just give me a second. I appreciate your patience. Now, Beyond Meat is a wild stock, okay? This thing, when it goes, it goes. Now, the reason why I like these type of stocks because they're typically low float, which means there's not a lot of shares out there, and a lot of them are high short float, which means out of the portion of shares that are available, there's a high percentage of them that are short. Those are high potential short-term plays. That's why day traders like them so much, because when they go, and this is one of them. So in this situation, right, with Beyond Meat, you have a support level, okay, right where it's fooling around. So good location. There's no trend here, by the way. I mean, this is one gigantic range for a while. It's been ranging since May, right? Almost a year. This thing has pretty much been in a range. You're not exactly at the bottom portion of that range, which is over here, which is what price is that? Around 114, yeah, around 115 area is the bottom of the range. You're not at the bottom, excuse me, you're not at the bottom of the range, you're near the bottom. Okay, so it's not a horrible location. The top of the range would be up in this area here. That would be where your profit targets should be distributed, right? If you're interested in something like this as a swing trade. So zooming in more, so we know, what does that tell us, right? Step one, are we trend or range? We can answer that, range. Step two, are we at an attractive level? Well, yeah, we are, but it's not the best level. It's not the most attractive, but it's attractive because there's a double bottom there, okay? There's a recent double bottom. I like to see that. That's good. It started with that pin bar about a week and a half ago. Week and a half ago. When I talk a lot, I tend to slur sometimes. All right, so as far as the price action, zooming in further, as you know, I start out with the bigger picture and I get closer and closer, as you see. Today's candle, indecisive doji. I don't like that candle, right? Because now this could turn into a mini lower high. So I wouldn't do anything with this right now. I would wait to see if this thing can retest at least somewhere near this recent support, okay, which puts you around 135-ish. This thing closed today at 139.75, almost 140. So can we test the mid-30s is the question. If we can, and it can produce a pin bar or something, that would be a better level to assess risk from, and you have better reward risk from there as well, especially since that would be coming off of that double bottom area. That would be most attractive. Now, it may give you a little mini high or low along the way. You have to watch for that, okay? So it may not touch 135. Maybe it'll find support sooner and give you a buy signal. That's what I'd wait for on something like this, okay? This thing it closes in 15 minutes. So I definitely don't like that candle, all right? I would wait at least on this one, but you are in a good location. Now, if it does something crazy, sometimes, you know, things line up and we're like, all right, great, we have a trade coming. And then the next day it opens and it gaps, right? Sometimes you have to let it go. You miss it, right? Or you just have to be willing to take the chance and step in before something like that happens. That's a gamble. There's really no way to know if it's going to gap tomorrow or not. But based on what I see here, I'd prefer to wait for a more attractive level. I tend to be very conservative with these, right? There's plenty, because you know what it is? There's plenty of opportunities in other stocks that have much better setups. I mean, look at Blink. That's much better, okay? That's a much better setup. If I was going to take a chance, at least you take a chance on something with a higher low in place that's about to break out, okay? At least. So anyway, there's plenty of those. And you don't want to overload on these things. So anyway, that's the question on Beyond Meat. Let me see there was another part of that question here. Let me see. Hold on. Zynga. ZNGA. This is another day trader stock. Very popular with the day traders. Which is good because when they go, right? And if you're in it from a swing trade, they can really boost it along for you. Now, all right, so you're in an attractive location. I could see you like the support levels. That's cool. But today's candle, no good. Right? So this thing at least has more of a trend. You have a higher low here. You have a higher high that was established up in here, which is what? Around the $12 area, 12 and a quarter, and it's pulled back, right? You have the lower high, and now it's found some stability in this area here. Okay, those are all good things. You're still in a broader bullish trend. But today gave you a bearish pin bar, and it most likely will close like that in 15 minutes. So I wouldn't touch this thing. If it takes out the low tomorrow of $10, it's probably going to test the absolute low of this support area, which is around the 975, 950 area. So I would hold off on that until it can give you a better candlestick signal. Okay, but you do have a good location, and the broader trend is generally bullish. If you manage to buy this thing somewhere, you know, you're looking at profit potential maybe in the mid 11s, maybe up into that 12 area. That would be ideal, you know, or I should say maybe extreme if it can get up in that area. But I wouldn't be very optimistic about that, especially with the way the stock market is, the location of the stock market in general. Not all these stocks are highly correlated to the S&P and the Nasdaq, but if there's a massive sell-off, which can happen, all stocks tend to feel some pain. So, you know, why get involved in too many of them? Anyway, so that's what I think about that one. Thank you for bringing that one up. All right, so let me jump over here. Hey, Taylor, good to see you. All right, I see you, Paul. Which time frames do you typically trade off of yourself and why? All right, Paul, good question. For swing trades, daily chart only. I'll sometimes look at an 8-hour chart if I need to see some more detail on particular candles, but I stick to daily chart only. All right, now for day trades, it's a different story, but for the strategy that we employ and that we share trades with and stuff that I put on TradingView, it's all swing trade based, okay? So all my reward risk, all my signals, everything comes from the daily chart. I really don't need to look at anything else. Right? These people that get wrapped up in these 1-hour charts and these 30-minute charts, if you're not day trading, all you're doing is confusing yourself and asking for trouble. All right, so back to TradingView. Man, I'm behind here. Sorry, people. I'm going to catch up, so just please be patient. Curious to know your thoughts on BTCD and ETHD on the weekly as well. Do you ever consider the macro trends? So when you say BTCD and ETHD, are you referring to against the dollar? I guess you are, I'm going to guess. And you're asking about the weekly trends on those. So let me just jump back to BTC, right? I'm guessing he means BTC dollar because I don't think there's a ticker BTCD. I don't even know what that is. Okay, so I'm just going to assume that's a dollar. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But if you want to talk about the weekly chart, I don't really look at weekly charts very often because they can be confusing. And like I said, there's enough information on a daily chart for me to make my decisions. But it doesn't hurt to check a weekly once in a while, right? If you're looking at particular levels. Now, on the weekly BTC, I mean, it doesn't really give me much of a different picture than the daily, right? We have this candle, this inside candle here on the weekly, and we're sort of in the middle of that. We haven't taken out the high of it. We haven't taken out the low of it, right? If we take out that low, that would be an inside bar sell signal off of a failed high on the weekly. If that follows through, you're looking at a big pullback. But again, you know, the daily will give us more warnings and more information than by the time the weekly shows it. So weekly is good for like further confirmation. You know, like if a weekly level is taken out, like for example, you get a sell signal like on your daily, but you want to know if the broader momentum is going with you or if you're going against it. The weekly can be helpful in that area, but I don't look at it very often. Okay, so good question. Now he asks about Ethereum. So ETH, I'm guessing you mean ETH USD. So I'm going to just scan the bottom of the chat to see if I'm correct. Okay, I don't see, I think I'm doing the right thing here. All right, so again, ETH. The ETH, I don't like the way this chart looks at all. All right, now you have this double top area where price is fooling around and it can't seem to break out of this, right? Too much hype in this thing and too much hype in all these altcoins that, you know, with all this NFT stuff, and that's a red flag in my opinion, all right? When the whole world knows about it and blah, 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 and we're fooling around near highs, not an area I'm very interested in, right? Now, if you're in from a great price, this should be a place where you should be at least distributing, locking something in, like we've told our people. Lock something in. It doesn't mean that the party's over just yet, but here's the thing. It keeps hesitating. Obviously, it's waiting for something. If you take out these lows of 1,700, that's not a good sign if it does that, right? Because your next support after that is here, okay? Ajawaska. I've been waiting for your next stream. Could you please give your take? Sure, no problem. Thanks. Oh, for 500 coins. Man, that's what people have to do to get my attention. They have to give me coins. No, I'll get to your question. I'll make sure I get to it. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Ajawaska. All right. So again, with Ethereum, if this thing pulls back, if this thing breaks that 1,700, you're looking at this 1,400 area. That's what the chart says. Now, is that bearish? No, it's just range bound at that point. It's not exactly bearish. you know, a double top doesn't mean trend reversal. It could mean a consolidation. And with Bitcoin, we've been waiting for a broad wave 4 consolidation, right? And I put this in my analysis. If you read my weekly analysis on TradingView, gold is a broad wave 4 consolidation. Since August, gold has really gone just lower. But is gold bearish? Well, if you zoom out, you know, people on their 1-hour charts will say gold is bearish, but this is not bearish. Okay, that's not bearish. It's just a wave 4 consolidation correcting a broad bullish trend. Bitcoin may do something similar. I know it's hard to believe with all the bullish nonsense and blah, 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 and this institution is buying $50 million worth and blah, blah, blah. How many videos on YouTube have I seen explaining how all these institutions are piling in? And I look at these videos, I'm like, man, they're piling in now at these prices? I mean, I would think an institution has better information than most of us because they can pay for it. And I would think someone would tell them, well, you don't buy it now. So I don't know. I mean, they're buying all this Bitcoin now? Where were they at 48,000? Where were they at 35,000? Where were they at 10,000? So, you know, I don't know. If that's true and they are buying at these prices and this thing is getting depressed like this, that's a bad sign. All right, that means they're buying the top. And when they have to get out, that's not good. All right, anyway, so that's Ethereum and Bitcoin. Now, you mentioned Ethereum on the weekly. Let me just take a look at Ethereum on the weekly real quick. Right, so same situation. You're not going to get much new information out of this. Inside bar on the weekly, you take out that inside bar low, it's a sell signal on the weekly. Right, and again, it doesn't mean it's a trend reversal, but this thing can very easily consolidate. And as we know, right, for those of you that have been in this more than a few months, Bitcoin from the 2017 peak went to 3,000 over the next 2 years, okay? And that was just a consolidation. People were saying it was a bearish trend. When Bitcoin reached 3,000 a year ago, people were saying that it was going to 1,500. You can't listen to people, all right? So the point is, if this thing is in a range, I'd be looking for that 1,400 range low, and that would be a great place to accumulate more coins for the longer term. If it takes out that 1,400 on the weekly, it may go lower, but I would not be expecting like 300 or something like that. I would be expecting it to find a support somewhere sooner, perhaps around 1,200, perhaps around 1,000, somewhere in this noisy area here, and that would be a typical wave for bottoming area, right? And that would be more apparent on the weekly. All right, so I hope that answers your question there. I know I need to move faster here because I have a lot more questions and I talk a lot. All right, so let me see what back to the other one here. Let me see what we got. And again, I appreciate your questions. So I'm just scanning through the chat. Okay, Paul, okay, I answered that one. Thala, how would someone build inventory from scratch going forward with profits sitting aside from solid inventory? All right, I'm not sure what you mean by that, but all right, so Thala asks about how would you build inventory from scratch, meaning you're flat. Well, here's the thing. So you have to look at your levels. Now, if you're talking about Bitcoin, right, I'm assuming you're talking about Bitcoin, you have to realize this is not a bottom, right? We can all agree that this is not a bottom, all right? The trend support that I have on Bitcoin is around the mid 40s. This is the trend support, meaning, I'm sorry, no, that's not it. This is it here, it's the lower line. I gotta get my lines right. That's not the trend support. This is the trend support right here. Okay, so it's around 40K. So what that means is when it comes to inventory, that's probably the most attractive area if Bitcoin can test it. So what if it can't get that low? Well, since you know you're near a high, from scratch, you start with the smallest size possible. So here's a quick example. Let's say you have $1,000 to invest and you want to buy Bitcoin. Right? Obviously, you're not going to put all $1,000 up at the high. Why would you do that? So you're going to split that $1,000 up into smaller increments. But since you're near a high, it doesn't have to be equal in increments. So you're not going to do 10 purchases of 100. So since you're near a high, perhaps you can skew it smaller and say, okay, I'm only going to buy $25 worth here as far as inventory goes because we're near a high. Now, for my first $100 purchase, I'm not buying a full $100. I'm only buying a quarter of it. So if we start pushing into minor supports, I'll buy the full $100 worth. which is 1/10 of your still intent to buy more, right? So at least you're controlling your size or your inventory relative to where we are on the bigger picture. Now, if price provides the opportunity and starts pushing lower prices, which again, you have to be open, have an open mind, anything is possible. If you start to see the mid 40Ks or the low 40Ks, now you know you're in an attractive area to buy. What gives you the confidence to step in front? Because remember, it's not going to look pretty. Okay, when you see a large bearish candle that looks like this, pushing in an area like this, it's not pretty. And then you go on TradingView or you go to YouTube or wherever, and everyone's bearish, and everyone's saying Bitcoin's going to go to 25K or 15K. So what's the first reaction? Oh, I'm not going to buy that. It's going lower. Meanwhile, these are the best prices. You just don't know it yet. So what gives you the confidence to step into that is the smaller size, which you had planned in advance. So perhaps at that point, you've only accumulated maybe $300 or $400 worth, perhaps at that point, right? Out of your 1,000, which is not even half. So now you're at a great price. So instead of buying $25 worth, you skew it to maybe you buy the full $100 increment at such a great price, or maybe $150 worth, because now you're averaging in at a better price, okay? And you're going to be weighted, your average price is going to be weighted from a lower price. People either throw it all at one price or they do everything equally. And you don't have to do it that way. Okay, so that's how I answer that question. Thanks for asking. Let me move along here. Man, I'm still behind. Okay, and again, so I answered the Bitcoin one. Let me see. I recently used a lot of my Bitcoin to invest in altcoins. Do we see any indicator on Bitcoin causing altcoins to dump yet or not? Okay, feeling nervous. Okay, interesting. You of all people shouldn't feel nervous with that kind of name. I mean, you know, that character has no feelings or whatever. I'm just kidding. Okay, Star Wars reference. So here's the thing. I'm a big believer that Bitcoin is the leader. And yeah, I can understand why you might feel nervous with the red candle developing, but Bitcoin has not taken out any supports yet. But it is the leader, right? So I agree with you on that part. Where you should be more concerned is the break of supports, right? So 56K, it's messing with me now. If this takes out these lows, which is what, 53K area, the next support I'm looking for is 50K. If Bitcoin can't find support there, it can't reverse there, then you're probably going to be feeling more pain on these altcoins. So here's your thing. If you're feeling nervous now, that means you're probably too big or you have too much on. So it doesn't hurt to reduce risk. Perhaps lighten your load a bit until Bitcoin starts to improve. Now, like I said, there's really no reason to act or react right now. But what if Bitcoin has one of these moves where it gets dramatic for like maybe an hour, and you pull up, TradingView, and everyone's bearish. Oh, this thing's going to zero, right? It's going to scare you out of your coins, and then you're going to bang out of everything because of an emotional reaction. You have to understand. And I don't want to, if I go on this rant, forget it, we'll be here forever. But what I just want to say in 30 seconds is human emotion, or the way our senses that we use, sight, sound, feeling, touch, hearing, those things were given to us to thrive in a physical environment. But the market's not a physical environment, right? The market is an abstract, random environment. So all of our common sense, all of our intuitive feelings and blah, blah, blah are ineffective. So what you need to understand is in this situation, if you're too big, you're going to probably make the wrong decision at the wrong time because you're going to react to information that you shouldn't be reacting to. So what I would say is lighten up your load. You can always get back in. Now I know it sucks. Maybe you have to take some losses, some small losses, but the focus here is not making money. The focus here is reducing risk. When you have good control of your risk, the making money consistently and over time tends to be a byproduct of good risk management. I can't emphasize that enough. Taking stop losses, getting out of stuff because it's not working out, taking those losses is often the best thing to do because small losses are much better than big losses. And many of us have been there, so we know what the big losses are like, and they're not necessary. They're often a result of emotional baggage. I'll put it that way. All right, so good question. Let me see what else we got here. XLM, XRP. Sure, let's take a look from Trading Wiki. All right, XLM. So stellar lumens. I'm sorry I'm slow. XLM. I was hoping to do this faster, but I can only speak so fast. All right, so stellar lumens against the dollar. So look at this, right? Range bound. Now, normally I would be like, all right, broader trend is bullish, right? We do have a higher low over here. We do have a higher low over here, right? And we do have the higher high in place. And we've pulled back and we're consolidating. Okay, that's so basically, if you're in it and there's nothing to do here, right? If you're not in it, it's not a bad place to buy some, technically speaking. But again, this has not been one of the better coins as far as relative strength or outperforming Bitcoin. If Bitcoin pulls back, where is this thing gonna go? That's the question. If it takes out this support at 37 cents, you're looking at the next support at around, what is this over here? 30-cent area, perhaps the mid-20s. You're looking at something like that. So if you're in it, the question is, do you feel like taking that risk? If not, then you have an opportunity, again, to reduce risk. Now, I could be wrong, and maybe some news comes out and it takes out the range high, okay, 43 cents. If you get that situation, then you just let this thing do its job and see if it can make a new high, all right, up here. See if it can do that, because the trend is bullish, right, 60 cents. So in theory, based on this structure where there are higher lows, higher highs should follow, right? So I would expect at least a test of high. So if you have an opportunity, right, maybe it goes into the middle of the range, which is another place to reduce risk if you have some. Those would be the places I'd be looking to reduce risk. Not a big fan of this coin, so I wouldn't really be buying here if you're not in it. If you're not in it, look for a better coin, right? If you really insist on this coin, well, you're in the range low, but your risk is going to be defined by 36 cents. And I'm talking about this from a swing trade perspective. I'm not talking about this from an investment perspective, which means, investment means you're going to be in this for years, right? Swing trade means you're going to be in it for a few days, maybe a few months, right? When this thing does its job, and then take, short-term profits. All right, so I just wanted to mention that. That's XLM. XRP. So I covered XRP earlier. Shayshank asked about it. So you can just go back earlier in the video. Again, this would be a situation to reduce risk because this thing is not really in a clear trend. It's more in a range. So I would be looking to reduce, not get into this thing, especially since you're near that range high. It's gonna lure a lot of people in who don't know any better or who look at smaller time frames thinking that it's going to be the next Cardano or something. Okay, so thanks for asking about that. Thanks, my favorite mentor. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, can you cover Lena and CHZ? Okay, I'm assuming those are coins. All right, so hold on. Before I get to that, let me get to my other chat here because I have so many questions. All right, so Robert, GME. All right, great question, GME. GameStop. We all know this one, or at least you should know because it's in the news. I don't even follow news, and I know about this ridiculous stock. There's a chance some sort of squeeze. I'm long 8 shares. Reading all. Okay. So reading that stuff that you're reading is going to be. It could be confusing and distracting. So I'm sure you're calling it entertainment. Okay, that's good. Now, as far as this thing goes. This thing is wild. It's a day trader stock. It's one of those short float. You know the story. I don't like this stock because if you're not day trading it, it's just trouble. All right. Now, so let's look at it from a swing trade perspective. I wouldn't swing trade it unless you're at an extreme price. You have some support here at, what is this? 183. Okay. Your next support, if this area is broken and you're looking at another leg lower, you're looking at this area here. Here, let me just draw a little line there so you can see it. You're looking at this area here, which is what is that, 137-ish? Yeah, around the 130s, 140s, okay? That's what you're looking at. Now, this thing's at 186 right now. As you know, it can do that in a day. So I don't like the way today's candle closed. You have an inside bar. If that low is taken out, 186.25 basically, you may have a sell signal on your hands. So that's, as far as squeeze from here, the candles aren't saying anything, right? I don't see a bullish pin bar. I don't see a bullish inside bar. Now, if this inside bar, the high 209, is taken out tomorrow, then perhaps you're in squeeze mode, okay? Obviously, it will take some news or some pumping or whatever it is that they're doing, to get this thing going. But watch that level on today's high or today's low. That will give you a better idea of where your next move may go. Now you do have a higher low here. Perhaps it will try for one more leg higher, but again, this thing's all over the place. So it's hard to say if it's trending or not, especially since it tried to do something back here, gave it all back, and now it's a hype stock. So that's why you can't sit there and say, oh, but it's a higher low. It has to go higher. It's going to do whatever it wants to do, especially with all the the way it's manipulated. So just something to keep in mind there. Thank you for bringing up GME. Nicholas, DOT trade. Oh, so I mentioned DOT earlier. Nicholas, you asked about in the chat. You asked about what was it? Support.com, SPRT, I think it was. So you mentioned something about being in this thing from like $2. Man, I mean, so when you get a situation like this, look at this. For one, you don't want to be buying it now, right? So obviously you didn't buy it now. This thing is at $7, and it closed with this large, crazy candle and this big gap. Hopefully you've locked in some profit at this point. Now, if you have, you look at the lows here. 618 is your low. If it stays above that low, right, you may have some momentum going higher in this thing. That's where you can maybe put a manual trailing stop. But hopefully you've locked in a good portion. When you get a jump like this, you really should lock something in. Typically, greed will set in, and you're like, this thing's going to go to $10. This thing's going to be the next GME, blah, 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 blah. And you don't take some money while you have it. You should always be in that habit. Something goes big your way, take something off the table. Even if you have 100 shares and you get out of 20 shares, hey, that's better than nothing. Okay, so just something to keep in mind there. Thank you for bringing that one up, by the way. I happen to remember it. Anyone else that put a question in the other chat, if I didn't answer it, please ask it here so I can get to it. Because I know there were a couple of questions in there, and now I can't remember them. All right, back to the other chat here real quick. Oh, thanks, Entrepreneuric. All right, so Lena, let me go back to Lena and CHZ, right? So Lena, I'm guessing this is a coin. All right, so linear token, it's called. And see this right here? See that ridiculous tail? That's what you don't want to get caught in. So usually when it's doing something like that, you'll find plenty of chat rooms. A lot of people chatter, talk, oh, linear, this thing's doing this, it's going to make you a millionaire overnight. When you see stuff like that, you're probably buying into this before it looks like this. Right, this is when I see that big red flag, okay? And now you look at it and you're like, wow, this thing's back to 14 cents. Man, just the other day, this thing was at 34 cents. Why is it pulling back? And now you're stuck in hope mode. So as far as this thing goes, it took out yesterday's low. Momentum still bearish, but trend trying to be bullish. Support on this thing is over here. So that is at 10 cents. So either it finds support sooner, somewhere between 10 cents and where it is now, or it goes to 10 cents. I mean, this candle is a sell signal. So I wouldn't be buying it on that candle, that's for sure, especially as a swing trade. There's no reason to buy it. So if you were in it, I hope you took something off the table. If you're looking to get into it, I would wait at least till somewhere closer till 10 cents. And also it would be nice to see some form of price action confirmation, like a pin bar. All right, so that was that one. And there was one more, CHZ. CHZ, okay, hold on, USD, let's take a look. All right, so similar situation, right? Recently, this thing went nuts. Again, hype, hype, hype all over the place. Pulling back, okay, nice. So broader trend is bullish and you're consolidating. All right, that's fine. Current price action, bearish candle, taking out yesterday's low. So there's no buy signal in it right now, but you are in an attractive location, which happens to be around 47 cents. So if this thing can give you a buy signal around those mid-40s, perhaps it tests 45 cents or something like that, at least you're not buying the peak. And I would be expecting in that situation, if you could get a buy signal, a test of the high, or at least the middle point, okay, which would be around, what, 72 cents? So if you're buying this thing around, 47, 48 cents or whatever that low is, right? And you're selling it around 60 cents for a swing trade, whatever, that's not bad. That's what I'd be looking for in something like that. Again, I'm talking about swing trades. If you're thinking about an investment, well, hey, at this point, you're not buying the high, but I would be very careful with playing the investment game or the inventory game with these. These are like lottery tickets. They're like penny stocks. You know, if you threw in a couple of $100 way back here at how much is this back here? This thing was like 6.5 cents or whatever, and this thing goes 10 times its value. You know, and you turned $100 into, you know, $1,000. That's a home run. But the mistake people make is they want to turn $100 into $50,000. But that's not a realistic thing with most of these coins, no matter what these YouTube people tell you. I mean, I've watched some very compelling videos about why this project should do so well and all these plans they have, and they're going to be listed on Coinbase soon, and blah, 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 blah. It's all meaningless nonsense, okay? It's just entertainment. So you have to keep real expectations realistic. We missed most of it. If you were not buying this back in July, like for example, I mentioned all these gurus on TradingView, right? Or YouTube. Where were these guys in July of 2020 or August or June or April, when most of these coins, a lot of them, were worth next to nothing? Why weren't they telling us back then that these things are going to be 10x their value in a few months? Where were they? They were nowhere to be seen. Maybe some of them were around, but most of them were not. So you have to look at that as a red flag. You know, we missed the move. You have to wait until these things are hated again if you want to play that lottery ticket game. Okay, anyway, that's my rant on that. So thanks for bringing that one up. Let me go through here. What else we got? Rose USDT. Okay, Rose, and I'm going to jump back to the other chat here. Rose USDT. I know I'm talking a lot. Let me check my time. Okay, I got to wrap this up soon. Rose USDT. All right, so similar situation, right? Nice run, nice recent run. Looks similar to Bitcoin in a way, right? I like the bullish trend. Okay, that all works. You have a higher low that was established back here, 17 cents, 17.5 cents. Okay, those are all bullish things, right? Today's candle tried to go higher, and now it's given some back. That's a bearish candle off of a potential higher low. If momentum was going to continue, I should not see a candle that looks like this. So what I would do in this situation, if you're not in it, at least wait for a test of the low, which is, what is that, 16 cents? Perhaps it can go maybe a little lower and shake some more people out. Your next support after that is around here, which is what? What is that? Can I get a line? Okay, right there. So you're looking at around the mid 14 cent area, something like that, 14.50, something like that. That's your next support. So those would be the areas where probability is more favorable. But right now, I would not touch this thing. If you're in it, hopefully you've taken something off the table if you're in it from a good price. If you're not, if you're in it from a bad price and this thing takes out the low of 18 cents, it's probably going to push lower. So you have to keep that in mind when it comes to measuring your risk, okay? Only you can do that. All right, so thanks for asking. Let me jump back. So I covered DOT, all right? Litecoin. So lumens I went over stellar lumens. Let's take a look at Litecoin. So again, Litecoin is a follower, tends to follow Bitcoin and Ethereum, not doing its own thing. Litecoin gave us the red flag here at this failed high, and it's doing similar to what Bitcoin's doing, right? A lot of nothing. So you're in the middle of the range here. There's nothing to do with Litecoin, right? Litecoin would be attractive here. I'm going to just the range high over here, right? This is the range low. Let me put the range low in place. What is that? Around 153 low. That's your range low. All right. So Litecoin would be attractive either in the 150s, or if it could find support sooner, perhaps like in the 160s, 170s, but it will have to prove itself in terms of price action. Right now, you're in the middle of the range. So this is 50-50. It can go either way from here. I don't like it. I can't really measure risk effectively, so I would leave it alone. Okay? If you're in it for the long term, there's nothing to do. Hopefully you've locked in some profits. If you're not in it, I would wait for the better prices if it can get there. If it can't, there'll be an opportunity somewhere else anyway. Okay? But that's what I think of Litecoin. Nothing to do here. Thanks for asking. Let's move on to the next one here. Okay, so David mentions Bitcoin is getting beat up here a little bit, but hold on, I like those comments, because it sounds more than what's really going on. Bitcoin is only minus 1,400 points. That's not a lot relative to the way this thing's been moving, and it hasn't taken out any supports yet. So nothing to do. This doesn't do anything for me. Okay. Now, if you're watching a smaller time frame, it'll look more dramatic. But there's nothing going on here, is the reality. And this is a lot of people, again, they get sucked into those 5-minute charts, 15-minute charts, and this and that, and they'll short it even, which we don't do, and you're getting short right at the worst possible prices, right? And that you get squeezed, and you know what happens from there. All right, so thanks for mentioning that. 55, okay. Andre, can you take a look at, okay, let's take a look. I have some puts, okay. Let's see, what is this? 3D Systems. You have some puts. All right, so I'm guessing this is a 3D printer, and I know because we've talked about this one before. Broader trend is bullish, so you have some puts in this thing. That's going to be a tough position. Now, you have the pullback, nice. All right, if you bought puts recently, can I get a square? All right, right here, right? That may prompt you to buy puts, but the thing is, this is a tough spot. Now, I'm generally, right now, like on the Nasdaq and stuff, I'm generally more bearish for the short term. That's why I still have my SQQQ position. You have the lower high here. So as far as the puts go, so far structure is still, recent structure is still in your favor. You want to see 28.25 get taken out tomorrow. If instead, this thing takes out 34, which would be this lower high, that's a problem, okay? And I will also, I'm looking for that type of problem with the Nasdaq situation. If the Nasdaq blows through its resistance, which, you know, which will not be good for my position, my SQQQ, I may have to send out an adjustment to get out, because there's no point in losing the whole premium when the signal is clear, you know? So that's the clear signal I'd be looking for in something like this, or adverse signal. So what you want to see is the break of that support, and I'd be at least anticipating in that situation a test of this low here, 22.25, 22.75, 22.5, right? And in theory, it should make the lower low. Of course, you're going to need the market to go your way. You're going to need the S&P and Nasdaq and everything to get hammered, and then you're in a good spot for something like that. So that's how I would handle something like that. Okay. Thanks for bringing that one up. Happy. Why don't you look at volumes? Well, Happy, it's because the volume information that we have access to is useless. Bitcoin, stocks, Forex especially is useless. There's no point in looking at that. The volume information doesn't give me any advantage. It just, if anything, it only makes things more confusing. And you have to understand something about volume, okay? Like here, so let's pull up something like Bitcoin, right? Because everyone thinks that, you know, they have access to volume and it's meaningful information. So you see this volume on the bottom of the chart and you think, oh, that means something. If an institution is buying Bitcoin, right, or whoever, because that's really who we're interested in when it comes to momentum, they're going to hide their orders. They're not going to say, well, I'm going to buy 1 million right here. The whole world can see it. They're going to distribute their orders. So volume information is useless. I can't do anything with it, right? Now, there's a thing where, you know, you're looking for a difference, like a push to highs on lowering volume is a weak situation and blah, blah, blah. But like I said, with the ability to hide orders and all that other stuff, it doesn't really provide any clear advantage. Like I said, most things don't. So I'm better off with less information, not more. That's why I don't use volume. I mean, I've tried many things with volume. You have to understand, there's books written in the Wyckoff method and blah, blah, blah. 100 years ago, when they used to do this stuff, and you'd look at a piece of ticker tape, there would be like price and it'd be a volume number, right? Things were much harder to hide back then. So you had more of an honest view of the market. But today, with the power that institutions have and their political connections, and I'm not being a conspiracy theory person here, I know stuff about, you know, they can pay for more advantageous positioning in the market. You're not going to see their volume, right? So it's not very helpful. Anyway, that's my too long of an answer for a simple question. Thanks for asking. SLB stock for swing trade. Okay, SLB. Let's take a look. Okay, nice. okay, this is an energy stock. And this is a nice trend, right? Clearly, higher lows, higher highs, all over the place. That's what I like to see. No question there, bullish. You have a higher low developing, okay? And look at today's candle. Nice close above the previous day's high. That's much better than a lot of the charts that we've looked at with those red candles today and taking out lows. I hope those that asked for those charts can see the difference here. So yeah, this would be a good candidate. If you look at the low here, 26.76 is the low. So you would start measuring risk from there. This thing closed at 27.66. What is the potential on this thing? $30? Okay, so you're looking at risking about $1.50, $2 to try to make about $3, okay, over maybe a week. That's within reason. It makes sense for a swing trade. Now again, this is an energy stock. The energy stocks have been doing very well. So it's likely that this thing at least tests the high and holds the market up. So yeah, that one makes sense. I like it. SLB, definitely the best chart I think I've seen today as far as everything lining up properly and taking a risk that is within reason. So thank you for bringing that one up. I may have to call that as trade of the week tomorrow. Maybe. We'll see. Gabriel, hi. Nice to see you, Gabriel. Okay, SPRT. I got it, Nicholas. Wow, that was like an hour ago. Shares of a small cloud-based software penny stock were rallying Monday after the announcement of the merger. Oh, merger with Bitcoin miner. Oh, okay. So that's that story. Nero, could you look at BAT? It's been performing very well, above the previous all-time high. All right, BAT, basic attention token. This one went nuts recently, right? And now it's been sort of hesitating a bit. I don't like that it did this. I mean, if you're in it, great, right? If you got the piece of that. But this price action right now, it's in consolidation mode. Bearish pin bar developing today. You take out that low of 22 cents. I'm sorry, $1.22. It's probably going to test lower. I'm not saying it's a bearish trend, but it can consolidate, and you're looking at range lows of around 89 cents, okay? So it may pull back there. That would be an area that would be attractive for BAT, at least for a swing trade, if I were to get involved in something like that. That's where I'd be looking. I wouldn't be looking here. Okay, so thanks for bringing it up. I have to speed this up a bit. Oh, okay, so I'm going to be at this for a few more minutes. I want to make sure I get some more questions answered here. So I appreciate the questions. Let's see. So I got Rose, finished the book, waiting for the advanced book. Oh, well, I'm working on something, my trading. I'm working on something that I'll be able to talk about soon, but it'll be more advanced than that what you're talking about there. Okay, short Bitcoin. It's BS, this guy says. No, I wouldn't short Bitcoin. We don't short Bitcoin. If you're a day trader, there could be some opportunities, but if you're not nimble, you can get caught. Okay, Velvet, can you cover Cardano? All right. ADA, USDT, very popular coin, and I'm not surprised to see this. All right, so here's the thing. There's a lot of hype on Cardano, right? It's a feel-good coin. Everyone likes the founder and blah, 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 and they're going to bank the unbanked and whatever nonsense. And they have this long list of all these things they're going to do. Okay, they announced the listing on Coinbase right here. Ever since, this thing has gone nowhere, right? That's because the whole world is long. So I'm only interested in the price action perspective. The next support is at $1, and you're taking out yesterday's low so far, so I'd be watching for that $1 support. If it takes out that support, your next support is around here, which is around, what is that, 83 cents, maybe 85-cent area. Those are the inflection points I'd be considering for any type of trade or any new type of swing trade in something like Cardano. Now keep in mind, a lot of these altcoins, once the hype machine is done, a lot of them are just going to go nowhere for a long time. So if you're going to get involved, at least get involved at the best possible prices if the market can provide that opportunity. Those are the supports I'd be looking for, over the next few weeks if it can test one of them. Remember, a support alone is not enough. It needs to confirm, okay? The price action needs to confirm. Otherwise, you can just place orders in advance, right? And it all should work out, but it doesn't. It's because the levels themselves they can be very random. So price needs to confirm. Okay, so that's ADA. Is the connection bad for anyone else? It must just be you, Tron, because I'm not getting any complaints from anywhere. And let me see, is YouTube giving me a hard time? No hard time from YouTube. No, so it must be you. Okay, ABG. Why would be shorting BTC BS? Soon will be very big short, and most of the dreamers will be amazed that BTC, they only dream to make them. Okay, so look, you guys are just, you're opinionated. Okay, that's cool, but those opinions can cost you a lot of money. You know how many people were telling me Bitcoin was a short at 10,000, at 20,000, at 30,000? Okay, I don't see those people around anymore. So either they're no longer short or they went out of business. So I'm not disagreeing that Bitcoin can't pull back, right? But the broader trend is bullish. I go by what the chart says. I don't have an opinion. The chart tells me what to think. The chart says generally bullish until supports break. When supports break, then I stand aside. I don't short. Okay, we don't short something like this. We don't use leverage on these markets. I've explained that before. Long only, and you don't have to trade both sides of the market to make money. Our track record proves that. Okay, so thanks for mentioning. What do you think about BTS? Is that a coin or is that a stock? Let's see. I'm guessing that is a coin. Let's see. Probably a coin. BitShares. Okay, so again, a lot of these look like this, where I had this recent move, higher low in place, but it's not breaking higher. Okay, consolidation. Not good if you're in it, especially if you're in it from these prices. This right here is a range high, or it could be a range high. It's a failed high area, and so far you're getting that bearish pin bar. So if you just got in, this would be a perfect example, is if you just got in and it looks like that, you're caught in a failed breakout, most likely, right? And I would be looking to get out. That's what I would do if I had just bought this thing. So, if you're in from great prices, hopefully you've reduced your risk by now. But if this thing takes out 7 cents, you're looking at, pushing back into this lower area here, into the range low area. All right, so that's BTS USD. All right, so let me jump back to the other chat. I covered Cardano. Okay, hold on. What do you think of shorting UPST? Nada, let's take a look. Oh my God. This was a Henry Rains call, okay? They went nuts. They had an announcement on good earnings. Man, I know some people got into this at some good prices. This thing's up $39 today. No, I wouldn't short it. I know it's tempting because you say, how much higher can it go? But when it looks vertical like this, you don't even have a pin bar. No reason to short this. If you're not in it, just let it go. If you're in it, hopefully, and I know someone is in this from a good price. Hopefully he's trailing his stop at, right now the trail would go at 124. Actually, no, today's the higher high, so it would be back here at 82. Yeah, you have to use a smaller time frame. This is a case where I'd use like a 4-hour chart to trail the stop, right? You go to 4-hour, it's 240-minute chart. In a situation like that, you go 2 candles behind. So 117, 118 would be where the trailing stop would go on something like that. But wow, that was a Henry Rains call, and I didn't take it. Anyway, okay, so thanks for bringing that one up. Okay, Upstart. Hey, HS, good to see you. Michelle, hey, nice to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing well. Okay, I went over Cardano. Okay, Mel, no problem. All right, is gold done? Gold, I haven't talked about gold. Gold isn't done. Gold is just very tough to trade right now. Gold is not going to go anywhere unless we see the dollar make a decisive move. The dollar is still the dollar may be in a bullish trend, right? It may be. That's the problem with gold. If it is, gold will probably suffer some more. So I'm all in with my gold mining, WPM. I'm not going to go anymore. I have enough. And, waiting for this thing to start doing its job. But gold is going to have to turn around, right? Gold is trying, but I wouldn't do anything with gold right now, right? Because although this is possibly a lower high, it could go for that test of low again. This is a function of the dollar. Gold is going to need some more information to get it going, some catalyst. Here's the dollar index, high or low on the dollar index. If this thing breaks this resistance around that 92.5, this thing is confirming again a potential bullish structure, possible bullish trend, and that's not going to be good for gold. Now, there's a lot of conflict with gold because we know in the physical world, there's a shortage of gold and silver, right? And we know that for a fact. So at some point, either that catches up or I don't know what. Okay, so This is why you can't have logical opinions on things, because markets are irrational, especially paper markets. So I would, if you're in gold, I would just hold off right now. I wouldn't be buying more at this point until the dollar makes a more of a decisive move. Okay, so thanks for asking that question. Okay, let me see what else we have. BTC ticker. Oh, BTC dominance of a broader. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't look at BTC dominance. If that was the question, I don't. Some people put some relevance in that. I'm looking for short-term momentum. I don't get wrapped up in things. If I can't get much value out of it, I don't bother. Less is more in this game. Okay. So thanks for clarifying that, Paul. Let me see here. So okay, Thala answered that. Catty Kitty, is there a few comments There are a few comments happen at Trading View. Okay. How do you anticipate? Okay. Well, yeah, I'm trying to catch up on both. I'm going to have to wrap this up now. I see a lot of questions here. I'm not going to be able to answer them. All right, so I got Cardano, AR, I see XL, BTC, Cake. All right, so let me just check the time. I gotta wrap this up. Hold on. Yeah, I gotta go. Okay, so if I missed your question, I sincerely apologize. Please ask me again. I think someone asked me about. Hold on, let me get to this one here. ANKR. I'm just going to answer that one from Ajawaska because he asked it like a long time ago and I said I was going to get to it. So let me just do that one and then I'm going to wrap this up. Okay. Now against BTC, again, I'd rather look at USDT because that's going to be better or more realistic as far as the levels go because USDT is a stable coin. I want to trade these things against something stable, not something unstable. All right, the levels will be much more reliable. So in this situation, look, ANKR, this is not a bad looking chart. It's definitely bullish, but you're consolidating right now. So if you just bought this thing, you're taking a lot of risk. I would wait, if you didn't buy it and you're waiting for a pullback, your first area is like the 6 cent or maybe high fives. That would be a good place to be looking for a long. It probably won't look very pretty there, okay? Now, I don't know what the story is with this and how correlated it is with Bitcoin, but all I can tell you is this consolidation right now is not a good place to be buying. If it clears that support area that I just mentioned, then you're looking at 4 cents, I'm sorry, like the low fours in that area there. Those are the areas I'd be looking to be buying, whether for a swing trade, even possible small accumulation. Again, these are like lottery tickets. So when I say accumulate, you buy like, $100 worth at 4 cents and it goes to 2 cents. You don't keep buying and keep buying. These aren't high quality stocks that pay dividends, okay? Just something to keep in mind there. So that's that question. I had to make sure I answered that. The guy gave me TradingView coins. I can't ignore that question. All right, anyway, so thank you all for your great questions. Again, I apologize very much if I missed your question. Please contact me or just my next stream. I'll be on TradingView again. I'm trying to do one a week on TradingView, or you could just look in other places and I will have, I try to stream multiple times a week. Again, thank you very much for your participation and all of your support and great comments. Enjoy the rest of your day, wherever you are in the world, and thank you so much for watching.